kiss for you.
Hello everyone, my name is Emily, and this is another sketchbook story time. Now I don't know if you guys are getting sick of me talking about my exes. I've done a few videos about my love life in general, but now that I kind of think back at it, most of my exes were awesome and cool, and I'm still friends with them, or at the very least, cordial. Now, only 2 of my exes are just completely unbearable. I have no desire to ever get in contact with them ever again, and I have had about 7 relationships of substance in my entire life. The first ex that was just a piece of shit was the one that cheated on me, and his name, we call him Sam. So I'm gonna go ahead and put an annotation for that video right here. I definitely suggest you go over and watch that. It was quite an experience. That's all I can say. The other ex is who this story is about, and we're going to call her Penny. What's interesting about this story is I had almost completely forgotten about it. It had been shoved into the dark recesses of my brain, my subconscious struggling to try and forget the relationship I had with this woman, and the only reason that I remembered it was because I was watching a Quickened video. She does tattoo videos and sometimes lifestyle videos here on YouTube, and she was talking about how her ex deleted her blog, and it's actually a really traumatic story. It doesn't sound like it from the title, but once you get through everything and she kind of walks you through the stages of the relationship, it's really upsetting. So I'm going to also put an annotation for that video right here. Now, I want to preface this story by saying this. Yes, I have been around some very toxic people in my life. Yes, some of my actions have enabled their manipulative behavior, and yes, I am aware that I can leave at any time when I am in some kind of toxic relationship like this. These stories are from my past, and they're in my past for a reason. I have learned so much from making these mistakes. I do not view these follies as failures. I view them as learning experiences. Anyway, Penny was a beautiful, charming young girl. We got along incredibly well. She was exactly my type, both physically and mentally, or so I thought. And the only possible foreseeable downfall to our relationship at that time was that she was a little bit immature, and she was a little bit immature because she was 4 years my junior. I can already hear you guys saying it. Emily's a dirty old man, robbing the cradle. What are you doing with this perfectly good baby? You're not gonna use this baby. I'll take this baby out of your hands. But in all seriousness, the relationship was 100% legal. We broke up long before my 18th birthday, so according to the state of California, I am not a creepy old man. Thank you very much. I feel kind of guilty making these dirty old man jokes about myself because if you guys didn't already know, Mr. Artful is actually 8 years my senior. I think the age difference between you and your spouse stops mattering when you cross a certain maturity threshold where you have to 100% take care of yourself. So that's why I feel that a 13-year-old who was just about to turn 14 and a 17-year-old who had just turned 17 isn't that big of a deal. You're all essentially still being taken care of by your parents, and you're still relatively at the same maturity level. Though I know it's a person-by-person basis only because our maturity levels were not at all similar. And the reason for this was not because of age. Penny was incredibly spoiled. She got everything that she wanted. Her parents lived in this place called Los Altos, which is a very rich liberal area. She was a drama queen. She just had been raised not the greatest way. I understand that her parents wanted to give her the best things that they could and provide for her, but they never made her work for anything. And then in deep contrast, here comes me, coming from a lower middle class family where my dad had to get up at 1 a.m. and work until 5 p.m. that afternoon in order for us to, live. I was told to get a job the second I turned 16, and I have had a job ever since. I was taught to be grateful, I was taught the value of $1, and I was taught with tough love, and I will forever and always thank my parents for that. That's not to say that all wealthy people are the exact same. I'm just saying that Penny was kind of a stereotypical spoiled rich kid. I actually have the utmost respect for people who are given a large amount of power or wealth and use it for good, that know how to be grateful. When you are given a lot of wealth or power, it opens a gateway for you to be an asshole. And people who choose a different path, I just have absolutely nothing but respect for those people. Another really frustrating thing about Penny is that there was always something wrong. And it's funny because I didn't really realize this until I looked back just now, like, oh yeah, there was always drama going on. She was always fighting with one of her friends. She's a bitch, he's a bitch, whatever. She was just always involved in a lot of drama. And I remember always having this like slight feeling of overwhelmed when I was with her. I just kind of always had like my flat line was like nervous with her because I felt like I was walking on eggshells constantly because she was just fucking like, she would just go off, just, oh my God, I'm thinking about it right now. It just like gives me chills. She would just go off. She would throw things. She would pout. She would cry. Like, and she just had the most obnoxious, I hate to say it, ugly cry, just like, wah, wah, like a big baby. Oh my God, Emily, what were you doing? What were you doing? And it's funny thinking about it right now because it's like, we had so much fun when we had fun, but when it was bad, it was just like, I wanted to dig a hole and put my head in it. I'd rather stick my head in a hole than stick my dick in crazy again. Jesus Christ. Oh, thinking about it just makes I'm not joking, my eyes are watering, and it's not because like, oh, I want to cry. It's like when you smell an onion, except she's not an onion, she's just a big bitch. Before I get to the main story, I'm going to tell you this little story to kind of give you an idea of how much a psycho this girl could be. One night, I was at my dad's house. I was asleep in my bed. It was probably like 11:30 to midnight, somewhere in that area, and I get a rap-a-tap-tap on my window that wakes me up. First of all, my first thought is I'm shitting myself, like, who the fuck is tapping on my window? So I'm in my head, I'm like, should I go get my dad's gun? Like, what should I do? So I just kind of move the shade a little bit, and, you know, I wonder who the fuck that could be. I scared my dog, sorry. I'm sorry, I'm just mad. This asshole is standing there in her dress, but her dress is like half off, so one of her titties is hanging out, and her hair's all messed up, and it looks like it has like little tiny like pieces of lavender in it, and I'm just like, what the fuck? And my first thought is like, oh my God, is everything okay? Like, it kind of freaks me out to see her like half naked with shit in her hair. I'm like, oh my God, did she get hurt? Did someone assault her? So of course I open the window and I'm like, and then before I could even get 2 words out, she just like lunges in. She's like jumping in, her thighs in the windowsill, and I'm just like, oh shit, like just spider bitch crawling in my room. So I grab her by the waist and kind of yank her in so she doesn't get hurt crawling through the window, as she does. And the second I do that, I smell alcohol on her breath. The second I smell it, I know what's gonna happen. Nothing good, that's what's gonna happen, because there's nothing good that could come about a fucking 13-year-old little girl with her titty hanging out, with lavender in her hair, with alcohol in her belly, and a quote-unquote responsible adult bringing her into the room. Like, nothing good could come of this. So I make sure that everything's okay, and she responds with, yeah, I just went out with some of my girlfriends, and I'm like, it's literally a Wednesday night. You went out with somebody, why are you drunk? Turns out she just kind of dug into her, friend's liquor cabinet and then had her friend's sister drive her to my house from her. It was very confusing and made no sense, but it made sense all the same because this girl was very confusing and made absolutely no sense. So then I'm like, okay, this is not good at all. I either need to call your mom or we need to sober you up and get you home. And at that time, there was no Uber. I'd have to call 777-777 to get her a cab home. And she's a drunk 13-year-old. I really don't want to do that. It seems super incriminating. I was kind of freaking out. And then she starts trying to have sex with me. I'm not going to have sex with you. You are literally a 13-year-old drunk girl. And I am a freshly 17-year-old scared girl that does not know what to do. So I'm like, no, we can't do this now because this is not okay. This would technically be considered rape. And I knew that at that time. So I'm like trying to get her off me and be like, no, I don't want to do this. You are not of your right mind. And even though we're in a relationship, in no way, shape, or form is this acceptable. So I kind of like get her dress all, together. I get one of my shirts, I put one of my shirts on her, I dust all the shit out of her hair, and I'm like, okay, let's sober you up. And keep in mind that my dad had no idea that she was there. To this day, he still doesn't know that this happened. So Daddy, if you're watching this, I am so sorry, and I should have come to you for help. But I didn't, so Emily's a fuck up. Woohoo! What else is new? So I was like trying to take care of her and it wasn't working. She's like, no, I wanna kiss you. No, I wanna kiss you. I wanna love you. And I'm just like, okay, this is really uncomfortable. And I still remember like wanting to cry. I was so like, I'm gonna get arrested. Oh my God. Like I was just wigging out. I'm literally reliving that moment right now. You guys are essentially getting 2 stories in one because I was fucking shitting myself. So past Emily ended up doing the right thing, and on my old little flip phone, I called her mom, told her what was happening, and then I told her, when you are in front of our house, please give this cell phone a call, and I will bring your daughter out to the front of the house. The reason I did this was because I didn't want to go back into the bedroom and be like, hey, I called your mom and ratted you out, so let's go wait out in front, because this girl I knew would make a scene. And then, let's see, in Los Altos is about 25 minutes away from where I grew up, so I would have to deal with 25 minutes of just being berated by this girl. I had to endure that anyway, because when I went back into the bedroom, she was like, I want to spend the night. And I'm like, again, it is literally Wednesday. What do you think's gonna happen when your mom wakes up tomorrow and says, honey, time to go to school? Where the fuck's my daughter? How do you think this is going to go? And then it turns out you're at my house. Like, who do you think is going to get in trouble? You're obviously going to get, quote unquote, in trouble. Kind of the parents that don't believe in hard punishment. The kind of parents that when you see them in Target, they're just like, okay, remember what our life coach taught us. Now, if you break that, or if you throw that, or if you throw a tantrum, then you're getting 3 minutes away from your organic toy playtime. Like, fuck those parents. I am so sorry, and I know it's really difficult to raise a child, and I am very much looking forward to the day that I am able to hold my own bundle of joy in my arms, but no. Fuck that. I am not making a deal with my child. That is not how it works. My child is not my friend. I am the boss. That is the end of the story. And I know I'm probably going to get flack for this, but I think life coach parenting, that bullshit, I think that's ridiculous. There is no bargaining with children. They are children. They're like chaotic evil. There is no logic to a 5-year-old. Anyway, I tell her no, she gets upset, and she gets mad anyway. And she's like, well, this isn't fair. I never get to spend any time with you at your house, and we're always seeing each other after school, but we're never here, and blah, blah, blah. And I've always wanted to spend the night with a partner, and blah, blah, blah. And, she's giving all these very poor reasons as to why she should spend the night with me. And I'm just getting so irritated and trying so hard not to, 1, cry, and 2, get mad at her. And I'm just trying to talk her down this whole time, and she's getting angrier and angry, and then my phone fucking rings. Who's that? Who's calling you this late? I answer, and, her mom says, okay, I'm here out front, and she doesn't recognize that it's her mom's voice, and she was like, are you serious? Are you having another girl come over here? What the fuck is your problem? And then I just take her hand, and I go, and I take her out front, and she doesn't say anything, and she's kind of all wobbly. We walk down the hall, we go out front, I walk her out onto the porch, I see her mom, I wave, and without another word, I turn around, go in the house, and lock the door. I don't know what happens after that. I just know that her mom was able to take her home. All I know is the next day at school, I get like 20 text messages, all like a cohesive piece, telling me how much of a huge fucking cunt I am. Just a big, big bitch for ratting her out, for not letting her stay, for being a horrible girlfriend, and for not having sex with her. She's sober at this point, so she has to know it was a horrible idea to come to my house. But no, Penny can never be wrong, so she's trying to gather as much fodder as possible to be like, look, this is why you're a horrible person. This is why it's all your fault. So then I've had enough. I have had enough. So I call her. She doesn't answer. I call her a couple times. Finally, she answers, what? And I said, Penny, I am fucking done with your bullshit. I'm done. It's over. You and I are over. I don't want anything to do with you. Please just leave me alone. I can't tell you the feeling of relief that I had when I hung up that phone. I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders and that I was free. It felt fan-fucking-tastic. So here's where things start to get really, 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 really fucking shitty. This is one of the worst things that has ever happened to me, and I really haven't told that many people because in a way, it's very embarrassing for me. I remember just feeling a huge amount of shame after this happened, and I only think I told 2 to 3 people, and that was it. Just because I was really, really fucking ashamed of this. So in my contempt lit class, we had to do this thing called a tapestry, where you talk about everything that has made you, everything that you've done, every achievement, every failure, you want to talk about that. It's meant to be emotional. So in my locker, I had 3 paintings that I had done, all of which had won local awards, and then I had a stack of drawings that I did as a little girl, like 2, 3, 4, 5 little girl, like that little. These things obviously were irreplaceable. I had put countless hours of time into these paintings, and these, little drawings that I did as a kid, they're things I've done as a kid, and I'll never be able to get that back. Penny had the combination to my locker, and I had forgotten about that. Yeah. So I hadn't been in my locker for a few days because I didn't really need anything, so I have no idea when she did it, if it was during school hours or if someone was with her, she had an accomplice or whatever. I don't know. But when I was able to return to my locker, I opened it, and there was this black, what looked like almost like grease paint, just scribbled all over the actual inside of the locker itself. There was mayonnaise and ketchup and mustard and things like that, and it stunk horribly all over my shit, all over my extra pencils and whatever I had left in there. I had 2 pictures of me and my friend in there, and those were torn up. And then, she had destroyed the canvases. She had looked like either stabbed a pencil or something through it because there was like marks through it. It looked like her foot had gone through it at some point because there was almost like a shoe mark on one of them. Completely destroyed. There was mustard all over him, scribbled with black pen as well. And then the thing that is most heartbreaking to me, because those paintings, whatever, I have other paintings. But the things I did as a kid, those were just covered in ketchup and mustard and pen and lipstick, I guess. Grease paint, whatever she used, black, whatever. They were completely destroyed. Some of them were torn apart. And I literally remember just standing there and not knowing how to process my emotion. So I just closed the locker. And I remember just going, okay, I think there's a meltdown coming, so I'm going to go to the school counselor, and I'm going to have that meltdown. So I went to the school counselor, and I just bawled. I bawled, and I bawled, and I bawled. I was so fucking upset. I was so angry. I didn't know what to do, and, he was like, do you want us to, we need to go after her. She committed, essentially a crime, defacing property. We could expel her for this. And I said no. And he said, Emily, you have to give us her name. What if this happens to someone else? I knew it would never happen to someone else because she hated me. She hated me the most. And I wish now maybe I would have given her name, but I didn't. And I actually got in trouble for not giving her name. He was like, you can't do this. This is actually technically against school rules to not say who she is. And I actually don't remember exactly how I got in trouble. I think I had to go to a not a detention, but an extra study hall or something like that. I'm not really, we had it's called tutorial. I don't really remember. I had to go somewhere during that period, I think. But the point is, it was just I didn't do anything about it. I didn't tell my parents. I only told 2 of my friends. It was embarrassing for me, and I'm not really sure why. And to this day, I feel embarrassed that it happened to me, that I would let this girl do that. And every time I would see her in the halls, I would just completely ignore her. It just ate me up inside, and it still eats me up inside. So when I saw that video of Quickens, all those feelings came back of when your most cherished things are destroyed. I don't know. It was a fucking horrible thing. And I learned a lot from that experience, and I really tried to be a little bit more careful with who I chose to date, and clearly didn't do too great of a job because I think Sam came after her. But, for the most part, he didn't show his evilness till a little bit later in the relationship. But Yeah, so that's a really shitty story. I know it was funny for the longest time, and then it has this really downer ending. But you know what? It's okay because my mom is someone who saves everything, so I have 1,000 more pictures of things that I did when I was little. It just, those meant a lot to me. One of them I did when I was at my grandparents' house. I remember I drew their steps and, like, my grandma on the steps. And it just sucks. It sucks. And it sucks that there are people out there that would do this. I understand that she was young, 13, 14 years old, that like freshman in fucking high school. Of course she's immature, but it wasn't necessarily that, because I've met some freshmen that are really, really mature and smart and you know, well put together. And she just wasn't. She was spoiled and a brat, and I really don't know what she's doing right now. I really don't care. I wish her all the best, and I hope her life goes incredibly well from this point on, but I also hope that she has learned from that experience. I hope she looks back at that and cringes and feels like shit and goes, oh God, how much of an awful person was I to destroy someone's, not necessarily my livelihood, but like something that meant a lot to me. So that's my story, guys. I know it's just like a total downer, but you know, I figured I'm starting to feel a little bit better. I'm still kind of flatlining a little bit at the end of the day, but I'm getting really busy. So I'm like, you know what? When I have a little bit of time before Mr. Artful comes to San Francisco, I'm going to go ahead and make a story time. So here it is. I hope you guys enjoyed this edition of Storytime. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to stay out of trouble. See you guys later.